Hello again, it's me. Now I'm going to get back to the video that I had planned on doing tonight, which is a 5x7 fully lined zipper bag with the zipper near the top. It will be a tall bag instead of a wide one. And I'm going to have a little bit of a tab over to the side if I remember to put it in when I'm supposed to. Anyway, I do have directional pattern on my fabric, so my fabric pieces are going to be bigger than I normally would have if I don't have a patterned fabric. So don't fuss at me for being wasteful. I will use the scraps, I can assure you of that. This design is not yet on my site. I'm trying to get the instructions down, so tonight you're my test subjects. Hey, Christy. If you see anything that I'm doing that you question or you think I shouldn't be doing, or if I should change the stitch order of something, just let me know. My feelings don't get hurt easily, trust me. But anyway, I have my design already loaded. Yes, I still have my Band-Aid. I have my zipper placement stitches already stitched out. That is color stop 1 on my machine. I'm going to line up the zipper now. This is for you to put the zipper teeth in the middle of. I can get rid of these little stray threads because there'll be plenty of those everywhere on this one because there are lots of little tack down stitches. So anyway, you're going to need several pieces of fabric. This is done on cutaway. It's a lightweight cutaway. I use the cutaway because the tearaway is a little too crunchy for me. I'm really not fond of it. Don't want it on my designs that I can't get it out of, if you know what I mean. I can't tear it out of there, so I don't really want it on there. I've got some country design fabric that I'm going to be using, so I picked a very pretty red zipper, and this zipper is far too long for what I need, but I don't have a shorter one for the time being. So anyway, I'm going to line it up with the teeth over those placement marks. I'm going to pin and tape it out of the way. You want to leave your zipper pull all the way to the end for this piece of it. Christy, trust me, I can't figure out the lined bags too well. The test group did this one, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I've been working crazy ever since and haven't been able to get back to it. So tonight you guys are my guinea pig. Hi, Charlene. I think I saw you pop up there. Again, where my phone is positioned, I can't see real well where everyone, who pops on and who doesn't. So if I happen to not be looking at the phone when you pop on, I'm not ignoring you. I just can't see it from where I'm at. But anyway, if you can see that, I'm lining up the teeth of the zipper inside that placement stitch. Got to make sure that it's in there because there's not a lot of room for error on the placement. I like to fold it down and just take a look, make sure that it's there. I do put a piece of tape across the middle of the zipper. Yes, you will stitch through the tape, but it comes right off. It won't hurt anything at all. It's not super sticky, but it's going to keep it in place. So I just put a piece right down the middle, just like that. And then I just pop it back in the machine and do the tack down. Now you're putting the zipper just on the stabilizer because you're going to be adding your fabric later. Just make sure that if you're using pins to secure it, that your pins are outside of the stitch line. So it's going to stitch down both sides of the zipper, not stitching through the teeth at this point, although it'll stitch through the teeth later on. I'm going to pop this out. I don't normally just yet, but I'm going to pop this out and show you what it looks like. Now it does skip over. I'm going to go ahead and stitch it. I don't want it in one single color stop because I don't want it to go through the teeth of the zipper just yet, because I need to be able to unzip my zipper later on in the design. Now I'm going to show you what I mean where there's not a lot of room for error as far as placement goes. So if you look, I'm doing this in black thread so you can see. I don't have it exactly right. I wasn't very careful when I laid it out. Although I have plenty of room, the stitch line is just a little bit crooked. It doesn't bother me. That's going to be covered up. It may bother you. As long as it doesn't interfere with your zipper zipping and unzipping, then it shouldn't really matter a whole lot. It's going to be covered up with some fabric here on those edges anyway, and you will have another stitch line going down the center of it. Okay, so I got all the tape off of it. You're still going to leave your zipper closed at this point. Right now we're going to put on the front-facing fabric, not the liner. And again, it's like I said, mine is directional pattern, so I want to make sure that I have it properly lined up. So when I turn it down, this is what my fabric is going to look like. For right now, I need to do a running tack down stitch. So it's going to be like this, and I'm going to take the top edge of it and line it up with the bottom edge of the zipper. And I'll show you really quick why. Because I'm going to fold it down to give you a finished stitch edge when it's all said and done, and I just need to make sure that my pattern is stationed properly. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the pins from the zipper. I don't need those right now. I am going to just tape this fabric down again along the bottom edge of the zipper, maybe just a hair lower than the bottom edge of the zipper. And then I'm going to pin it also on the edges just like I did the zipper pieces, just to give it a little bit of extra stability. It's going to run one stitch line. So while I'm doing this, you're also going to put your liner fabric on at the same time. And I know I'm pinning when I probably don't need to, but I'm just going to hold it out of the way, because you're going to turn your hoop over and put your lining fabric, which I've chosen this red and black plaid, also in the same manner as this. So you're going to put it so that when you turn it down, it looks like this. This one is not really directional. It's the same right, left, upside down, or right side up. But you're going to also line it up with the bottom of that zipper edge. Now the zipper is maybe a 1/4 inch or so below that bottom stitch line, so you want to make sure that you move your fabric down to accommodate for that. If it's over a little bit, it doesn't matter because it is going to be on the inside. Again, I'm just going to tape this for stability right now, and then I'll secure it at the top or on the other side of the stabilizer a little bit better. So you will be taking this tape off after this tack down stitch runs. But this is what it looks like. I don't have a whole lot of space. This is what it looks like. You've got two pieces and that zipper all sandwiched together on the stabilizer. I'm going to carefully just put the hoop back on the machine. Slide it through there, clip it back on, make sure that nothing is in the way. I'm going to smooth out the fabric, make sure that it is not caught on itself underneath, and run a tack down stitch. Oh, my puppy dog's fussing at me. Okay, so if you notice, it only ran one, because now you have to unclip your hoop again. I'm going to have to go let my dogs out. My other fabric did get scooched down a little bit. As you can see, I didn't have it secure enough, but that's okay. I have plenty. You can see when I fold it down, it covers the back of the hoop on the bottom piece all very, very well. So again, you're learning what to do and what not to do for me tonight. I'm going to flip this here so you can look at that beautiful fabric while I let my doggies out. I'll be right back. Don't go away. I promise I won't be long. Come on, puppies. Okay, I'm back. I guess I need a handler for my dogs while I'm doing a video, huh? Anyway, so what you're going to do now is you're going to take the tape or the pins or however you had it off. You're going to fold that down and do a finger press along the edge. It's going to give you another tack down over the first tack down for your zipper. So you don't want to pull this too tight. Otherwise, you might run into a piece that didn't catch very well. So I like to fold mine up a little bit to almost the bottom edge of the actual zipper teeth. If you can see that. That better? There we go. I'm going to tape it in place. Again, the tape is only there to secure it. It will come off after you stitch through it. But you're going to do the same thing on the back. Now the back is going to be your lining fabric. So although I didn't line mine up properly, my plaid is not properly stationed. It's the liner fabric. So it's not as let's see, I guess as urgent a need to get it straight, although I wish I had, because I love the aesthetic of the plaid on the inside. I just wish it were straight, but it's not. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and pin through both pieces now that I have them on there. That way I stand a little bit more chance of it not getting skewed on the back side again. So let me just pin through just like this. Side one, and we'll come over here and pin side two as well. Just make sure that you get your fabric smoothed out properly. Again, you're going to leave your zipper closed at this point. You're not going to open it just yet. You need to make sure that your pin is out of the way of the stitch line. If you're doing it with the pin head near the zipper teeth, I probably wouldn't recommend that. So here we go. Here we go. That way your pin head is not by the zipper teeth and your presser foot or needle plate may get caught on it otherwise. Alright, so I'm going to pop that back in there, and it's going to do a stitch line to secure both of those now. This is the tack down for the front piece, and again it's going to go through that Scotch tape, but the Scotch tape is going to peel right off when we're done with this. This one is a stitch line that will show, so it is doing a triple beam as a finished stitch on this piece. Now your zipper bags are supposed to have a top, so you're going to repeat these steps again with two pieces on the front and a piece, one piece on the front, one piece on the back, also flipping them down like we did. So again, if it's a patterned fabric, make sure that you're getting your pattern line up properly. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my tape while I'm here. I think I got most of it off. You know, I used to watch Nancy Zeman growing up, and she always had 6 or 7 of the pieces that she was working on in various stages of completion. Maybe one day I'll be that organized, and I'll have the step-by-steps in various stages of completion, so where I can just pull one hoop and go to the next, to the next, to the next. That would be kind of fun, I think. While I'm here, I'm just going to snip a couple of stray threads. So here is my pieces. I'm going to do the same thing to the top piece above the zipper, just like I did on the bottom piece. And again, I normally would have my pieces cut. You want to make sure that you're lining them up this way, however your pattern is. I am going to then flip it down like this and line it up with the top edge of the zipper this time. Okay, and we're going to tape that down. And then on the bottom of the hoop, we're going to do the same thing with the other piece of plaid fabric. Because you're going to tack it down. I'm going to move it over just a little bit. There we go. Just outside of the zipper tack line, if you remember, the zipper is actually about a 1/4 inch away from that stitch line, about 1/8 or 1/4, depending on how far out of the placement stitch you got with your actual zipper. So I've got it down so that after we stitch this tack down, we flip it up and it'll have a crease there. Same with this one. Let me secure this one on the front. And then I'm going to pin them both. I'm not very organized on this one. I haven't, I've stitched this bag a couple of times in the smaller size, but not in the 5x7. So thanks for bearing with me through it. I know this one is not the best quality video, but hopefully you learned something from it. I know I am. It actually helps me to write instructions while I'm doing a video, because I make a mental note of things that did not work or things that might work better. And again, I am all for taking advice and suggestions from you guys. If you see something that I shouldn't be doing or I should be doing, or maybe I could try something a little bit different, please by all means let me know. Okay, so I've got this piece secured on both sides. So I'm going to pop the hoop back on the machine, and I'm going to run another row of tack down stitches. While I'm doing that, I'm just going to make sure that my bottom pieces are not bunched up under there. And my dogs can stay out for a little while. It is quite cool out tonight. We actually have fall, which is something we haven't had yet so far. Okay, so I'm going to pop the hoop back off here. As you can see, I've got my tack down. That one I did hold a little bit further outside of the stitch line than I really needed to, but that's okay. I can either trim it up or leave it. It doesn't really matter. It's not that much excess in fabric, so I'm probably just going to leave it. But I am going to go ahead and remove the tape on the front and the back. Now, as I fold it up, you can see now that my pattern is right. If I had taken extra care, which I almost did, you can see the direction of the trucks and the position of the trucks. This pattern is repeating off of this bottom one, and it looks like I have them lined up pretty well. So I'm kind of pleased with that. The plaid on the back at the top is how the bottom should have looked on the top or on the back, but this one got a little bunched up underneath, so it didn't work quite so well. This is where you're going to fold the top pieces up, secure them down again, and run that tack down just like you did on the bottom piece. So you want to make sure that you don't have a pin head in the way of your stitch line on either side, but you also want to make sure that you have your fabric secured front and back properly so that it will lay in the proper orientation and not get caught in your zipper when you try to open or close it. And no, don't open your zipper just yet. You will in a few minutes, I promise. the bottom piece is a little unwieldy at the moment because there's two loose pieces flopped around on the back side of this thing. So what I may end up doing is just securing one out of the way with a piece of tape. So I'm just going to do a visual check on the front and the back to make sure that my pieces are secure where they're supposed to be. This is folded back up. I'm going to put it back on the machine, moving both pieces out of the way because, again, I don't want to stitch through them. I want to stitch the tack down right above that zipper. Okay, so I'm going to hold that out of the way. I have my handy dandy little chopstick. I'm just going to hold that down so it doesn't get my finger. And I'm going to let it stitch its tack down. And again, it's going to stitch a triple beam because this is a visible stitch right next to the zipper. So it's going to not only give an aesthetic look to it, but it's also going to give it a little bit more stability on that zipper through those layers of fabric and stabilizer. Okay. So now, let me check my instructions for just a second. I am on, let me see what step I'm on in this. Okay, so now I need to run my entire front piece again. So the front piece I need is another piece of this. And I didn't get enough of them out. Hang on one second. It's a good thing I have my stash right here by me. I have my stash. These are not pressed, so please forgive me for not having it pressed. But I'm going to go ahead and use it because I can press it afterwards. I need a piece of fabric that's going to go all the way over the front and one that's going to go all the way over the back. These are full pieces of fabric, but you're not going to stitch the back at the same time because you need to leave a place at the bottom for turning. This is going to be turned through the zipper once after it's turned through the pocket at the bottom. So you're actually going to turn the bag twice. Let me get rid of my little stray threads. You also, at this point, if you'd like to, this is cutaway stabilizer that I'm using. So if you want to cut, I'm using my little curved snips through that zipper placement. It'll make it a lot easier for you when you're trying to turn or to cut. You can actually open your zipper now about 3/4 of the way down. Make sure that you can zip and unzip freely. Nothing's getting caught. Make sure that your zipper pull is not in the way of a stitch line, so be careful how far open you have it. So I'm just going to open it about 3/4 of the way. I'm going to go ahead and cut the center of this placement stitch out. It will make it a lot easier in a few minutes, I promise you. So just be careful not to cut your zipper tape. It is not going to reduce the stability at all, and if you can see here, it's completely open to the front now. This is going to make it a lot easier for you to turn after you take it all out of the hoop. Now, I can trim this up later, but this is what I wanted to do right now, which was just to open it up so it's easier for me after I take it out. And if you can see, this is how far I've opened my zipper to, because there's my zipper pull right there. Okay? So we're going to make sure that these back pieces are still out of the way. Oops, how did I get my thread all caught? Let me fix my thread here. I'm a little discombobulated tonight. How many of you guys use that word very often? I don't, but tonight it kind of fits. I've had a pretty chaotic week at work. As some of you know, I've been searching for an office manager to work and be my partner with me at the dealership for a couple of months now. And I found a lady. We made her an offer. She accepted, and about 4 days later, she backed out of the acceptance, stating that she was going to stay with her current employer. So I wished her well, and I'm starting my search over again. So if any of you have current automotive management, accounting management experience, and live in the Kansas City metro area, please give me a call. Anyway, this is, again, fabric that has a pattern on it. So I'm going to lay it face down in the proper manner, secure it, making sure that my back pieces are not in the way. This is going to stitch around the entire design. So you want to make sure that your pins are not in the stitch line anywhere. But you also want to make sure that your back pieces are properly aligned, that they're not bunched up under each other, and that your pattern is the appropriate, it's facing appropriately. Otherwise, you're going to end up with something upside down, and trust me, I have done that before. So I'm just going to take a second and secure these layers together. I did not press this piece, totally forgot to grab an extra piece. So it looks a little wrinkly. Again, I can press the bag after it's open. So let me just secure them out of the way. I hope to have this bag listed tomorrow, but right now, again, I'm just making notes to myself and remembering what I need to put in the instructions, like when to open your zipper, etc., etc. I have a really rough set of instructions that need a little bit of work. So I do have a basis already. I just need to work on them. So let me move this out of the way. The bottom piece is laying flat, so now I can just pin the top all the way through the layers, securely out of the way. When I put this back in the hoop, it's going to stitch the entire outline shape of the piece. Now, I have a tab that I want to include. If I remember correctly, and this is where I get confused a little bit, I should be putting my tab in right now. For whatever reason, whether it's aesthetics or whether it was that way on a bag that I've stitched before, or whether it's just because I'm right-handed and I pull the zipper in one direction, I want the zipper tab to be on the left side. So I'm actually going to secure it underneath, and it is thick. It is some plaid vinyl that I have because I like the feel of vinyl for the tab. It just gives it more stability to hold that ring in place. So before I finish tacking that piece down, I will put my tab on the left-hand side. Couple of more pins just to secure it in place on the other side. It's also keeping the back piece in check so it doesn't get bunched up and ruin my piece. So after you stitch the top on, let me just remove this for a second. After you stitch the top on, you're going to then take it off the machine one more time. Here, I got to make sure that I'm doing this properly. Hold on one second. Okay, I'm going to show this to you before I do it with the tack down. Okay, I like my tabs, if I'm doing a side tab, I like it to be in the same spot as my zipper, if you can see that. So it is over the open zipper. I did that on purpose because that just gives the zipper end a little bit more stability. I hope you guys could see that. I don't know if you could or not. but I am going to stitch that up and out of the way. Well, maybe I should do it at the top. This one is a little bit thick to try and do on the sides. So I will do it at the top and just leave it on the edge. Sorry guys, I'm not real organized with this one just yet. This is the first one I've done video-wise for this kind of bag, and I'm still learning. So you're learning with me. I know that some of you probably have, hey Vicki, hey Sandra, I know that you guys probably have a lot more experience at making bags than I do, either your own designs or other digitizers and their designs. So I don't want to copy anyone, but there are a lot of step-by-steps out there that have some great information. You know, what is the saying that there's nothing new ever under the sun? That's true and not true. There are things that are new under the sun, but most of them are just not known yet to anyone. Doesn't mean they're really new, I guess. But every time someone perfects a technique for stitching or design an element that's a little different than someone else's, it's theirs for a while, and then other people start using it. And I know that most of my designs, if there are design elements, I'm not talking about the form or function of, but if there are design elements, I try my very best to have them be my own. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to use a circle or a square the same as someone else. It means that I'm going to try and do things that are unique to me, or at least that aren't out there that every other designer is doing. With that said, I'm sure that we all have very similar items. Okay, I'm going to make sure that when I put this in the hoop that this metal piece is completely out of the stitch line. Again, I'm going to put mine at the top because I can't figure out how to get it at the bottom just yet. Along that edge of the zipper. No, I really want it over here by the zipper. I'm going to do that as best I can. There we go. Now, what I may end up doing is slowing my machine down when it gets close to that zipper, just so it's not going to get caught and rip the thing right out of the hoop. I'm not making any promises. It may do that, but I'm going to try for it not to. Anyway, I can't show you where it's at right now, but you can probably tell it's right here. And I just need to make sure that the metal hardware is completely out of the way of the stitch line. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my machine. I promise there are other people out there who do videos that they are much more professional and perfect and easy to follow than mine. I'm learning, and I appreciate you guys learning with me. Oops. All right. Time to rethread the machine, right? Okay. Okay. I don't know if you guys know or not, but my husband and I are thinking about moving out to the country, and if we do that, I'm going to have a massive she shed, I guess, or a craft building, or maybe a huge room inside the house. But either way, I plan on having plenty of room to set up a proper studio for designing as well as for videography. Okay, I'm going to watch this thing really closely over here and make sure that I slow it down as it gets close to that zipper. Because it's going to be going through 4 layers of vinyl and 3 layers of fabric so far. I I just don't want it to get bound up. There we go. It's going to come back through this zipper over here. That one is not bad at all. Now, this particular stitch line went through all layers. Now I'm going to take it out of the hoop and add the back piece to it. The back piece is going to stitch around the same way, but it's going to leave a section of the bottom open for turning. Now I tried this bag originally with vinyl. Vinyl is very hard to turn when you have 4 layers of it. I did not leave a wide stitch line or turning section open on the bottom of it, just because I didn't really want one that wide, and I didn't think I was going to have as much trouble as I did with the vinyl, but I sure did. Anyway, if you can see here now, right here is the vinyl tab. I'm not going to cut that off just yet. I'll cut it off when everything else is done. So here on the back side, again, I'm going to lay the back piece of the fabric down to cover the whole thing. And you're putting those right sides down. Again, I did not press it because I honestly forgot I needed these extra pieces. But I am going to secure it out of place. This back piece will actually become the liner of your bag, so pressing it is kind of irrelevant. The front piece is what you want to look crisp and nice, and or maybe you don't. Maybe you want a shabby chic kind of look. In that case, leave it as it is. Anyway, so I'm just going to secure this back piece in place and stitch it all again. I'm only going to run a few pins around it because the top piece is completely secure, having been stitched all the way around. I know you guys can't really see what I'm doing, and I'm so sorry. I do need a better studio, I know it. But I am going to check the back and make sure that it is secure and that it's not bunched up. You do end up with several layers of fabric, so when I tried this bag using the vinyl, it was a booger to turn. So the next one I tried was fabric inside and vinyl on the outside. That one was a little bit easier to turn, but it was still a little harder than I wanted. So this one is all fabric, and I think it's going to be just perfect to turn. I do have some thinner vinyls. Promo is one of them from my punk embroidery, and then she does have some glitter canvas that's also a lighter weight. It's a little thinner. She's got some other, her metallic line of vinyls is wonderful. Hobby Lobby has the ribbon vinyl that comes in the rolls, and it's usually on the bottom row of the ribbon section near the fabric cutting counter. Those are also great for, not doubling up, I wouldn't, but they're great for this. They're very pliable, very pretty patterns, vibrant colors. Some of them, they have different ones throughout the year. For whatever reason, my thread just keeps coming undone. So let me fix that. Okay. There we go. Now, as I said, this is only going to stitch around every edge except the very bottom. It's going to leave a width open for turning. So when the top piece was stitched down in full, it started right in the center on the bottom. This one starts a little off to the left side. I think I'm going to be picking tape off myself for a while. Again, I'm going to slow it down as it gets to this zipper, just so it doesn't get bound up. Your machine may not get bound up at all. Multi-needles probably won't. Single needles may or may not, it just depends, but I'm not going to take the chance. I did spend a lot of money on this machine and all my supplies, so I just want to take that extra precaution once in a while. It does a double row of stitching, just to give it extra stability around the edges. Here we go around that zipper again. Now when you take this off of the hoop this time, when you trim it up, you're going to leave tails at the bottom of this. Okay. When you trim it up outside of this stitch line, you're going to leave, probably 1 inch to 1.5 inches of a tail at the bottom of it. That's going to give you a place to turn and secure your fabric, either with a ladder stitch or fabric tape, mending tape, hem tape, something like that, or fabric glue or other types of fabric adhesive, and just close off that liner. That way you don't have an exposed seam or a hidden pocket, unless you want a hidden pocket, on the inside of your bag. That way nothing gets caught around inside of it or anything like that. Okay, so now it's out. I'm going to go ahead and pop it out of the hoop. It does have cutaway stabilizer, so there's really nothing to tear. I'm going to start trimming it, and you will cut right through the zipper on this one, just as it was sewn right through the zipper, so make sure you're using the correct kind of zippers. Hey Laura, I'm going to cut it real quick and then I'll show you what I did. And I know you guys probably think I wasted a lot of fabric. And I did. Had I properly prepared for this, then it wouldn't be quite as wasteful. But I would leave about probably a 1/4 inch seam allowance when you're turning your bag. It's just going to give it a little bit more stability. It'll give you the opportunity to clip the corners, the rounded corners, so that they turn and lay properly. I don't do square edge bags on this one. I did slightly rounded corners on these bags. That way you're not fighting for a point that's not there. So after you get it trimmed out, and remember when you're trimming over on the left hand side, you're going to have 4 layers of vinyl and the zipper and your 4 layers of fabric to trim through. Just be careful when you do that. Make sure that you leave your tab at the very bottom for turning and tucking that seam in. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so on the very bottom, this is how it was stationed in the hoop. Oops, I got a little bit of an edge up here. Must have got caught on the corner when I turned it. So on the very bottom, it looks like my mom's old hot water bottle. Oof. Anyway, this is where you're going to turn it the first time. If you put this up, you can pull one layer back and you can tell it's totally secure. You can pull the second layer back and it's totally secure. You can pull your stabilizer, and then if you look here, you actually have a turn. That's a pretty narrow turn. What I may end up doing before releasing it is opening that turning section just another finger width maybe, to give you a little bit more room so you're not fighting with it quite so much. But What you want to do is trim off these pieces, the ones that are stitched together, not the two that you're going to turn. So you're going to leave these two with a tab. That'll give you something to stitch them in. So fold this down. And there you go. So now you can fight with it. I would probably start with one corner, turn it while it's inside like this, come to the other corner. Be careful. I'm definitely going to open that opening just a little bit more. It's much easier with fabric than with vinyl, but it's still kind of tight through here. So just be careful, work your bag out. This is the first turn. You will turn it again. You're going to turn it through the zipper the next time. I don't have my fabric glue handy. Again, I'm not prepared, but you can use hem tape. You can use fusible webbing. You want to make sure that you get your corners out. So just, I use a blunt end chopstick and just kind of poke the corners out a little bit. This is your liner actually, so it's pretty wrinkled. If you've got a couple of stray threads, you can clip them now or you can leave them. It's going to be tucked in. You won't see a thing. But go ahead and press your corners out. And if you look here where the zipper is, you can see the stabilizer that we cut open. Okay? This is going to be your second turn. At this point, I would go ahead and trim out the rest of the stabilizer. Be careful not to cut your fabric on this piece, but you do want to cut it. These little curved snips come in really handy for this. They're completely tiny enough to fit in. They're also tiny enough that they're not going to get in your way, and you shouldn't accidentally cut your fabric, but just be extra careful just in case. You should be able to see the original placement line of the stitching right here. If you trim right along that edge, those little threads will come up as well. And let's see. After you get it all trimmed out, that's hard to do holding it up, so I'm going to lay it down and do it. After you get it all trimmed out, then you're going to turn your bag inside out. How many of you watched Nancy Zeman? You know, she passed away not too long ago, but our PBS channel still plays her on Saturday mornings, and unless they're doing a membership drive, in which case we see everything but Nancy Zeman, it seems. But anyway, the shows that she did in her later years were inclusive of machine embroidery, and she had a lot of tips and techniques, and that were pretty awesome. I learned some stuff about stabilizing and placement just from watching her, and you know, she was the ultimate sewing person as far as I'm concerned, videographer, show person on there. Anyway, so now I've got the cutaway stabilizer. I could take some extra time and clean it up a little bit more. For video timing purposes, I'm not going to do that. Okay, so on the bottom now that you have your two tabs, you tuck your tabs in and do a little finger press. You can line them up. You want to either ladder stitch across here or use fabric glue, hem tape, some other temporary or, you know, a tiny bit of fabric adhesive, something. I'm not going to fiddle with it because this bag is just for me, and it's for practice tonight anyway. So I'm not going to worry with it. I'm just going to leave it just like that. Here comes the second turning. Now you want to put your finger in here and open the zipper all the way. Okay, now you should be able to get your tab like this and just push. Okay, now you're going to turn your bag through your zipper. And again, this has a hole because that's where your liner is. If you would use ladder stitching or hem tape or fabric adhesive of some sort, you wouldn't have any opening in the bottom of that at all. But for time's sake, I'm just going to do this. I may turn it later and put a little bit of adhesive or do a ladder stitch, but for time's sake, I'm just going to show you this. You want to take your chopstick or your turning tool or your end of your blunt pencil, whatever it is that you want to do, press your corners out. Again, my corners are not pointed. They are slightly curved so that you're not having to fight too much with them. I did not clip the seam allowance on the curves. You could if you so chose to. But here you go. This is my little tab that I had sewn in. I'm glad that I put it where I put it. If you look now, it is completely lined on the inside. No exposed seams whatsoever, except that one little piece at the bottom that I didn't secure, and I will end up doing it. It is a 5x7 fully lined zipper bag. The zipper is not in danger of binding up. I have the key fob holder on the side with the tab. You could put 2 tabs on the top, make a crossbody out of it. You could leave the tab off of it altogether. You can put all sorts of fun little goodies in here. I would press it with a light press, maybe use a pressing cloth because I do have a vinyl tab over here that I don't want it to get melted. I love it. For once, I did get the orientation on my fabric correct on all pieces. That's a first for me. So, anyway, there it is, a fully lined, no exposed seams, 5x7 zipper bag. As you can tell, I can clean up this a little bit more. And I love the plaid and I love the country look. Thanks for sticking with me. I really, really appreciate it. Have a great night.